Hi, I'm Dr. Duke, Academic Director of FreedomProject Academy, and we have a serious topic here today. Way back when I got involved fighting Common Core, we kept talking about the National Sexuality Standards. This is a document written by a conglomerate of private individuals and organizations. The National Sexuality Standards is a national project whose aim is to replace abstinence education in the schools. The primary purpose of the National Sexuality Standards is to force abstinence teaching out of the curriculum, moral-based sexuality teaching, and to replace it with a comprehensive sex program that starts in kindergarten. The interesting thing about these national sexuality standards, they came out in the year 2012. 2012 is really the year that the implementation of Common Core Math and English, the two major Common Core subjects, was going on. So right when Common Core Math and Common Core English were being implemented by the schools, all the pedagogy, the textbooks, the worksheets were being given to teachers as the template through which they had to teach Common Core, so too the national sex standards were being written. And if you open to the sixth page of the National Sexuality Standards, and you can find the document online, and look at all 64 pages, I believe it is, and see what they have planned for your kids. The National Sexuality Education Standards, as you can see in this clip, they were informed by the work of the Center for Disease Control, a bunch of other things. But look at the last thing on the list. We have it highlighted. When the National Sexuality Standards Committee wrote these sexual standards, they consulted the Common Core State Standards for English and Math. Why in the world would a sexuality curriculum that nobody had ever really heard of, why would they, when they wrote themselves, be modeling themselves, patterning themselves after, tailoring what they're doing for Common Core State Standards in English and Math? What we've said for 5 years is true. What many other activists across the country have said for 5 years is true. Common Core, whatever else it was, and I'll tell you some of the things it is. Common Core is bad pedagogy. They are weak standards. It's mindless one-size-fits-all education. It is meaningless high-stakes testing. I could go on for about 20 minutes of all the things Common Core is: untested, untried, corporate, right? Big federal interventionism. I could give you for days all the problems with Common Core, but we said right from the beginning that Common Core was also a Trojan horse for all sorts of social engineering. And now we have a situation where these national health standards, crafted by private individuals, but meant to be implemented through the vehicle of Common Core into every single high school, middle school, elementary school, and kindergarten curriculum. Well, we were talking about that for years and years. And the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel, typical big liberal journalistic rag, ran a big story on me on April 13th, 2014. They published this in the Sunday edition of the Journal-Sentinel. And among other things, the Journal-Sentinel downplayed the idea of the National Sexuality Standards. As a matter of fact, what they did do, the Journal-Sentinel, is they went and got a hold of a spokesperson from the DPI, the Wisconsin Department of Public Instruction. And they, without telling me they were doing this, by the way, they asked John Johnson, the information officer, information services at the DPI, they asked him what he thought of the National Sexuality Standards that Pesta was talking about, and what he thought about the possibility that these would soon be in Wisconsin schools. Here's what John Johnson, DPI spokesperson, said in the April 13th, 2014 interview in the Journal-Sentinel. He said, quote, "None of these standards are relevant or related to what is legally allowed in Wisconsin." Quote, "This is not Washington or California or wherever else Pesta is finding his links." First of all, the first important thing to take away from this is that Johnson concedes that Washington, California, other states, by all means may very well be implementing these national sexuality standards. But he says that it would never happen in Wisconsin, that it would be illegal to happen in Wisconsin, and by implication, his DPI has nothing to do with this. Well, Mr. Johnson, as we pointed out at the time, we pointed it out to the Journal-Sentinel too, but they couldn't be bothered to make a correction. This document dates from July 25th, 2013. 9, 10 months, 11 months before Mr. Johnson said this would never happen in Wisconsin. It was illegal to happen in Wisconsin, and that his own DPI had no plans to implement any of this. July 25th, 2013, at a conference. It was the Best Practices Conference. It was actually held at University of Wisconsin-Stevens Point by a UW-Madison professor and a DPI representative. All those months before the April 13, 2014 article, the DPI was co-sponsoring a conference on how to incorporate, among other things, the future of national sex standards. You can see it taken right from the bulletin, right from the roster of the day's events on July 25th, 2013. A DPI spokesperson talking about the future, what was coming. The future of sex education, the national sexuality education standards, with a link to the document. Fast forward to today, May of 2016, and in a remarkable turn of events, we were handed, confidentially, by a school board member, a list of incoming suggestions for new standards relating to sexuality in a particular Wisconsin school district. We will not mention the school board member's name, and we will not mention the district. These are objectives that they are trying to put in this Wisconsin school district for kindergartners related to sexuality. And you can go down the list of some of these things. We're talking 5-year-olds, right? We're going to make 5-year-olds recognize and respect that there are many different types of families that may, and that families may change. How do you enforce as a standard respect? Obviously, the school district now wants to teach transgenderism, they want to teach gay marriage, they want to teach all these multiple family permutations to kids who are 5. And as bad as that is, as inappropriate as that is for 5-year-olds who can't process this information anyway, you're also going to demand, as part of a standard, that kids learn that they respect every different type of family. So you're not just giving them anatomical, biological, or even cultural information. You are demanding certain responses from them. You're going to put teachers now in charge of measuring the proper respect for all sorts of things that have no business in a 5-year-old's mind, no business in a 5-year-old's classroom. And you know, by the way, if this is going into some school districts in Wisconsin, it's going to make its way into all of them. The objective of the national sexuality standards, despite what liars at the DPI say, all along has been to work this into your schools. We now have clear-cut evidence, hot from the presses. It is happening. And look at the last one there. 5-year-olds now are going to have to identify how friends, family, media, society, and culture positively or negatively influence the ways in which children believe they should act. And the whole argument here is that what you're basically preparing the 5-year-old mind for is the idea that there is no such thing as gender, there is no such thing as male or female, there is no such thing as heterosexuality. Everything's a spectrum, age 5. And what's really shocking about this is you turn right back to the national sexuality standards of 2012. The very same standards that John Johnson said would not be in our schools, it would be illegal to put in our schools. Here, word for word, is what the sexuality standards say for 7-year-olds, second graders. In the national sexuality standards, by the time a child is in second grade, quote, they will provide examples of how friends, family, media, society, and culture influence the ways in which boys and girls think they should act. As you can clearly see, word for word, what's going on in Wisconsin schools and what's going on in the national sexuality standards, word for word, they are the same thing. And that's why for 6 years at Freedom Project Academy, we have really focused hard on bringing you Common Core free education, no government money. We don't take a penny of state or federal money. We never will. We've worked with people like Tina Hollenbeck to see exactly how the curriculum is overburdened with Common Core, and now the sexuality standards. Look, time is running out. There is no safe space in these public schools. Freedom Project Academy is a fantastic alternative, but there are others. Whatever you do, Mom and Dad, become responsible for your kids' education. Protect them from federal educational intrusion.